Yo, Hustle Nation. Hey, we're talking Instagram marketing for small businesses. Today, you do not want to miss this. If you have a small business and you're trying to figure this social media thing out, then you are in the right place at the right time. I've got a very special guest who's going to chime in and help us understand some strategies as it relates to social media. But in the meantime, man, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and comment in the chat where you're from. Drop the name of your business and or your brand. Let me give you a free business shout out. Super excited to have you guys joining us this morning. It is 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. So y'all know what time it is. It's time for the Cortez Hustle Show. And we're going to dive all the way in on a few different topics, man. And I am super, super ecstatic about this. Also, if you have not already, smash that share button, man. Chances are some people that you know are in business and they are looking for solutions when it comes to social media marketing. So I'm gonna make sure that I smash the share button myself, but you guys go ahead and do the same thing as well so that you can invite your friends and those who know, like, trust, and follow you to the stream as well. So without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get this show rocking and rolling. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.
You're tuned into the Cortez Hustle Show. Please like and subscribe.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am, of course, your host, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor, everybody's favorite fatherpreneur from financialhealthmentor.com, where I'm on a mission to empower people economically through financial literacy with an emphasis on personal brand development and entrepreneurship. And you are tuned in to the Cortez Hustle Show, the business podcast of for the 21st century entrepreneur. And when you are talking about entrepreneurship in the 21st century, you can't talk about that without talking about social media. So we've got a guest on today who's going to be talking all about how to win as a small business owner in the area of social media. That's going to be hot, hot, hot. Can't wait to hear from Katy Hinderer here in a second. But a couple quick announcements before we get in. If you have not already dropped the name of your business and or your brand, go ahead and do that. I'd love to give you a free business shout out. Just don't post any links, but let me know where you're at in the country, around the world, what you got going on, man. Listen, when it comes to business, and it comes to promotion and marketing, if you're not shouting you out, I don't know who is. There's over 100,000 people following this page. You never know who might want to connect with you based on a short description of who you are and what you got going on. For those of you who've been waiting on Personal Branding 101, it drops this week, putting the finishing touches on that bad boy, man. And if you are a network marketer, a solopreneur, a small business owner, you're trying to figure out how to build a personal brand that will lead to more engagement, that will lead to more followers, and building a tribe around who you are as an individual and celebrate your uniqueness, then you definitely want to chime in and be ready for that. Also, my honey and I have got the Hustle and Love podcast dropping. We're looking for two things. We're looking for couples who are in business together and don't mind sharing their stories, their best practices. How do you make business with your spouse work? That's what the Hustle and Love podcast is all about. We're also looking for a couple couples who want to get into the financial education space. We're expanding our business here as we wind down the year. We want to take 3 couples into 2021 with our own financial education franchise, show you guys how we get paid for posting financial tips and strategies on social media. So inbox me if you are interested in that. And then after we talk to Katy, you guys stick around. We're going to talk about how to develop a compelling why that moves you to action. And some of you guys may already have a strong why that maybe you lost touch with a little bit. How do you reignite that thing, man. I'm going to talk about that towards the latter parts of the show. Cameron from Illinois, the Alexander Network, is in the building, helping guide people to financial success and opportunities. I love that, love that, love that. So I promise you guys, we're going to talk to this lovely gem. I was on Instagram, and I'm always looking at how other entrepreneurs are doing their marketing. And when I tell you, I ran across this lady with one of the warmest smiles I have ever seen on a picture. I had to reach out and just say, hey, you know what? I like what you're doing. Is there any possible way that I can get you to come hang out with us on the Cortez Hustle Show? And she agreed. So I'm glad that she did. So let me just tell you a little bit about Katy. Hinderer is a social media strategist and Instagram influencer with a passion for creating crafting messages and creative communications. A graduate from Marquette University's journalism program, Katy started her lifestyle blog, ModlyChic, 11 years ago while looking for a creative outlet for her writing. Eventually, this hobby turned into a side hustle, and then the side hustle became her full-time job in 2017. This year, she launched Rosebud Social, a company that provides social media coaching and strategies. At the end of November, she released the Instagram Playbook, an online course that provides small businesses with a comprehensive guide to growing their brand on the gram. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. So without further ado, let me introduce to some and present to others, Miss Katy Hinderer. Good morning, Katy. How are you?
Morning. Good. How are you?
I am well. Excited to have you on the show. Thank you for gracing us with your presence this morning. So as we dive in, man, tell everybody, who the heck is Katy Hinderer?
Yeah. So, I mean, that bio does a good job of explaining it in general. But yeah, I was a journalism major, really loved the writing aspect and the crafting messages, and really didn't like the writing of articles. And so as I was kind of trying to figure out different things, and I had a couple different editors say, could you be a little less creative in your articles? I was like, okay, I got to figure out a way to shift this to really use what I love. So that's how I kind of got into blogging and social media, and it just kind of took off from there. I've been on Instagram for 9 years, 9 of the 10 it's been around, trying different things and kind of growing there. And yeah, I've had the chance to work with so many big and small businesses. And that's kind of how Rosebud Social came about then, because I'd worked with so many small businesses that were just really struggling to figure out how they should show up on social media and Instagram. And I was like, oh, like I know that, so I can help them be able to do that and do that well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Awesome. I love that, man. And you say you started out in the space of blogging. Talk about the evolution of that, but also you talked about crafting creative messages, but that also gives people a voice. And I don't think people understand that your point of view is important. And there's lots of people that would resonate with it if you would just get it out there. So before we get into Instagram, talk a little bit about the blog and how that started, bumps and bruises on the way. Yeah. And then it became a thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first couple of years, I had no idea what I was doing. Blogging was kind of new back then. I mean, it's been almost 12 years. It'll be 12 years in April. Not many people knew what they were doing, et cetera. So it definitely was a lot of trial and error, a lot of, seeing what other people were doing and seeing if I could mimic that or figure out a way to tweak it for myself. But I would say it wasn't until, 5 years maybe into blogging that I started being like, oh, this is a chance for me to be me and not try and be somebody else. And I think that was really kind of the turning point for showing up on social media and for the blog, that it really started to take off, and I really started to make money out of it, because I realized, like, I don't need to be someone else. I just need to be me, because there is an audience that wants to hear what I have to say and not just be the same thing that every other blogger or influencer out there is. So that to me is really important, and what I teach a lot of my coaching clients too, is to show up on social media as you, because the world needs your voice. They don't need an echo of someone else's.
Yeah, and I don't think there's a problem with modeling, especially early on when you're getting started, until you find your voice. But so many people are afraid of that part of, hey, I gotta go through anything worth getting good at is worth being bad at first. And nobody wants to be bad.
No, it's true. No one wants to be bad, but it's true. I think you gotta just jump in. And I think too, with social media, we're gonna get there eventually, but people are so worried about being perfect that they just don't jump in. And it's like, don't be perfect. Just show up. Just show up and do your thing, and you'll learn how to be better at it. But no one's perfect at it from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. My girl, Lisa Santiago McNeil, talks about taking imperfect action all the time. It's like, hey, just do something, man. just do something.
Exactly.
So you said in 2017 is kind of when you were able to transition full time, which is a scary leap for some. So talk about that whole transition. How did you know when the timing was right? And then how was it a smooth transition? How did that all work for you?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It was a smooth transition in that sense, because in 2016, I had been doing both the blog and Instagram influencing and my full-time job at the time. Mm-hmm. And I realized at the end of the year, actually, as I was doing my taxes, that I had made more money blogging and Instagram influencing than I had made in my job. Yeah. And I thought, okay, if I could do that being part-time, super part-time, like weekends and evenings, imagine how much money I could make if I just went all in. And so that to me was kind of the big decision maker, is like, okay, like I'm doing this and it's working, and I'm doing it part-time and it's working. So if I was doing it full-time, it is a big adjustment, I will say, to suddenly have the whole day in front of you and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to do this all day. Whereas before it was like, oh, I only have 2 hours and I'm going to crank this out in the evenings or whatnot. So I think that was the hardest transition for me when going full-time, but it actually was pretty smooth, but because I had been working at it for years beforehand.
Gotcha. And I love that you said that, the job really became a side hustle after a while, right?
Yeah.
Right. The job started out as the main thing, and the blog was a hobby. Then the blog was a side hustle. Then you look up and like, no, the job is really the side hustle.
Yeah, it really was. I actually flipped it for a year, and I went part-time on the job, like just a couple hours, because I didn't want to give it up yet, and did full-time with the blog. And that was huge.
Gotcha, man. I absolutely love that, man, because so many people, they don't stick with something long enough to see what it can actually become. And most of us are on these social platforms all the time anyway. It's like, what? I try to figure out how to crank out a little bit. So my good friend, Lady Ray J, says, how does one get paid to blog?
That's a really good question. So there are a couple of different ways, but the pretty standard way to do that is that you work with a brand who's going to pay you to create posts or to post on Instagram. So to give you an example, like a year and a half ago, I worked with Lee Denim, and they hired me to make 8 different Instagram posts over 8 weeks, every Friday, kind of a new post showing off how you could wear their items, their jeans, their jackets in different ways. And so then they paid me kind of a flat fee for those 8 posts. So it basically is like that. You mostly just work with brands or companies. Entertainment experiences, it's a lot of that kind of thing too, and you come and experience it, and then you're sharing it with your audience, and you get paid as a result of that.
Gotcha. Love it. So now let's transition into the gram. Now, when you started out on the gram, even from the world of blogging, did you see a monetization strategy, or was it just, hey, this is a new platform, everybody's on it, let me just get out here and see what's going on over here?
Yeah, the second one. I definitely was like, it's a new platform. I mean, it was very new too. I got on 9 years ago. I got on like a year after it actually first started. So nobody was monetizing it at the time. But every time a new social media platform came out, I was jumping on it to see, because I knew Facebook was something that a lot of brands wanted you to post your blog post to Facebook. And that was part of contracts. And so I was like, well, I better get on Instagram because in case this becomes a thing,
Right.
I want to be on it. And then it very quickly became a thing. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. So why do you think small businesses are reserved when it comes to embracing social in general? But I think they really think Instagram is for kids. And they kind of really, why do you think that is?
You know, I think it's a couple of things. I do think it's kind of that desire for perfection. And so you don't want to show up, you don't want to put anything out there unless it's perfect. And it's hard/impossible to have it be perfect all the time. And so that I think really holds people back. I think too, for a lot of people, it's that overwhelm of having to learn a new platform and figure out all the nuances. And you know, Instagram is an interesting thing because, you know, it used to be just photos and then it was, oh, we're going to compete with Snapchat. And so now it's these things that disappear after 24 hours. And then it's like, oh, we're going to compete with YouTube. And so then there's IGTV and now we're going to compete with TikTok. And so now we have Reels and then, so they're always coming out with new things. And I think that overwhelms a lot of people. And so that keeps them from engaging and being part of it because they're like, no, it's too much to figure out. And then I think the last thing that I see a lot with the people that I work with is like, they're like, I don't have the fancy equipment or the team to put this together. And so therefore, like, I can't. And that's false too. I tell you, for my blog and for all my accounts, I shoot almost everything on my iPhone. So you don't need fancy equipment. You don't need all these extra things. Like I do it all on my phone. So it's easy to do, but I think that holds people back.
Yeah. And I think it's something to be understood that's what the platform was built for. It was built to be able to just share from your phone and, you know, on the fly, just kind of bring people into your world a little bit and keep it moving. I think people are trying. I think they see bigger influencers like yourself and others, and they assume that there's no way you get to 130,000 followers without some major lighting, and you got to have a beautician and a makeup person on staff and all of this stuff. That's how you get to the big influencers. And that's not correct, right?
No, not at all. I mean, I every now and then have a photographer who shoots things if I have really big contracts. But besides that, yeah, like I'm doing it all at home on my own, coming up with different ways to shoot the same stuff. You know, timers are my friend. I use my Apple Watch and my phone and just do it that way. So, yeah.
All right, cool. When we come back on the other side of this break, I want you to break down just kind of the different aspects of the Instagram platform and how they could be used in business and that kind of stuff. And then I want you to help me out because I've been trying off and on. I think I started my IG account in 2017, and my biggest audience is on Facebook, and I've got some starting to grow on YouTube. And I'm like, because I love video, right? And Instagram wasn't video friendly back then. So I was like, okay, I don't write, I don't type with emojis and all of that stuff. So I can't do Instagram, but you're going to help me out, right? On the other side of the break. All right, cool. Yeah. You guys keep it locked right here. We're going to learn how to use the Instagram platform. And then she's going to give us some tips and maybe even a daily routine that we can use and incorporate Instagram and help us get better on the platform. So you guys keep it locked right here.
What's up, St. Louis? Listen, I see you've been checking out some of my videos on how to build generational wealth. Here's the real key. If you're going to build wealth in America, you must find one or two ways to get paid for one or two things that you love to do, and then build systems around those things so that you don't become a slave to your business, but you then start earning true passive income. Listen, I've got a book and online course called the Monetize My Life Influencer Bundle. The book will teach you how to identify your gifts, talents, and special abilities and turn those things into income by packaging and presenting them to the marketplace. The course will teach you how to use social media and build systems just like this video around your products and services so that you can earn that passive income. All you got to do is click the link around this video and get yourself the Monetize My Life Influencer Bundle today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. We are listening to and learning from Katy Hinderer from Rosebud Social, an Instagram influencer and social media strategist, helping us all build bigger, better, bolder brands on the gram. Before we get into the platform itself, you mentioned this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. Talk about the importance of showing up as your authentic self.
Mm-hmm. This is like my thing. I give so many talks to various groups about showing up authentically online because I think that's really important. So I always use the example of there are people who love Pepsi and there are people who love Coke, and there are audiences for both. And so I think it's really important for us to remember, like, there's an audience for what you have to authentically say. There's people who will buy what you are selling. You just have to find those people. And the best way to find that is to really show up as yourself consistently day after day. And eventually you're going to attract that tribe to you to really be able to grow on Instagram and elsewhere in your business. So it's really about, just being you, but you got to know who you are and you got to know who you're talking to in order to do that. But it's really just being you every day online.
Yeah, I love that. And you guys write this down. Somebody put this in the chat for me. It's not about being better as much as it's about being different.
Yeah.
And guess what? When you are your authentic self, you're automatically different. You're one of a kind. There's nobody else like you, right? McDonald's sells billions of burgers, but so does Burger King. Mm-hmm. Who can say one is the better than the other? They're not, they're just different. Yeah. And I think we get caught up in trying to one up one another and be better than. And no, just celebrate how different you are from the other person. And the people who resonate with your differences, they're going to resonate with you and they're going to follow you. You mentioned knowing yourself and knowing who you talk to. Do you have a couple of tips to help you really, because that was one of the things that I struggled with is like, man, I came out and I said, hey, man, I'm going to do these videos. I've been learning some financial strategies and I'm going to take people on this journey and say, hey, this is what I'm learning. But I try to do it like everybody else was doing it.
Yeah. I think, what I always tell people is the importance of creating before you consume content. And so, because that's how you can really show up authentically. If you're like, okay, I'm going to make a post about whatever, a day in the life of a financial health mentor, I'm going to make that before I even get on and look at what anybody else is doing in that way. And that's to me, the best way to kind of show up authentically, because then you're not swayed by the little things in the background that are saying to you like, oh, you should do it this way. This is the way everybody does it. No, like it doesn't matter. This is the way I'm doing it. And that's how I'm going to show you that.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy. And that's because in the learning process, I'm learning from other influencers. And then sometimes they actually influence my influence.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So let's talk about the Instagram platform itself. What are some of the key components and some of the key features of this platform, that makes it different? And then why should we be looking to use them in a way to stand out as our authentic selves and also start building and crafting the right messages and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So, I love Instagram probably the most of all the social media platforms because it is a very visually friendly platform. And it's actually a lot easier to create content for it than it is for YouTube, for instance, right? YouTube, like you need to have the video figured out. You need to know how to like cut your video and make sure it all works well. You don't need any of that for Instagram. Like you just put a picture up. You might edit it a little, but it's not as complicated. So there's not as much of a learning curve. So that's why I like it. Also too, millions and millions of people are on Instagram every day, millions. So your ideal clients, your ideal audience, they're out there and they're on there almost every single day, probably. So it's easy to find them. It's easy to seek them out and to bring them into your page if you know how to do it. And so I think that's part of it. And then two, now, if you like photos, you can use photos. If you're more of a video guy like you, like now there's video options and there's multiple video options. So all of that, like you don't have to just post photos. You could post videos almost every day, and that's fine. And that's totally, you can do that. And the other thing that I like most, I think, about Instagram is you get to keep kind of showing up and giving your authentic self, because Instagram stories, which I think is a really missed opportunity for a lot of small businesses, is the way in which you can kind of show your personality, show your face. You're just hopping on, you're doing it really fast. And I think that can be a really, really good way to build an audience and to build kind of like brand loyalty around you and what you're creating, because you're just hopping on, showing your face, sharing a little tidbits, consistently every day. And that can be a really, really good way to connect with your audience and your clients.
Like. So let's talk about stories real quick, because I'm always confused about stories. How do they go? Like, is it oldest to newest? So if I did multiple stories, how do they sequence so that if I'm trying to put a series of stories together, I'm always confused as to which one goes first, second, third, fourth, so that it looks right to the viewer.
Yeah. So they go chronologically by time. So like, let's say you posted something at 9 a.m. and then something at 11 a.m. They'll go in that order. Okay. So if you're going to do a whole story, let's say you're going to do like 5 frames in a row, trying to promote your book or something like that. You want to do the first frame you want them to see first, and then second, third, fourth, ending with the last one you want them to see. That's definitely the easiest way. And I will say this is one little pro tip. Instead of posting all 5 of those at the exact same time, spread them out throughout the day. Because what happens is every time you post a new story, your little icon with your image, right, for all of your followers pops back up to the front of their feed. And so if 5 times a day you're popping back to the front of their feed, you're much more likely for your stories to be seen by your audience than if you posted all 5 at the same time. Because if you posted all 5 at 9 a.m., if your follower gets on at 3, your content is buried under all their other followers who have posted content. And so that's why it's really important to scatter your posts throughout the day so that you have the greater chance of being seen, and even multiple times, by your followers. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm like, man, how do I tap into this IG world, man? Because I do love that. I'm like, okay, so they got the 15-second. I can drop something in 15 seconds. I can do a sound bite. They've got the 59 second. I'm like, man, I can really say a lot of stuff in 59 seconds. I talk kind of fast. So I can say a lot of stuff in 59 seconds. And then, of course, IGTV, I have been using that a little bit to kind of repurpose some of my things that are a little bit longer in length, some of my tips and that kind of stuff. And I repurposed that for IGTV. I just couldn't figure out the story. So I'm glad that you broke that down. What are some of the common mistakes that small business owners are making as they try to get onto the platform and make it work for them, other than not knowing the sequence of their stories, right?
Yeah, right. I would say one of the things that I see the most is what I call posting and ghosting, where you post your content, whatever it is, an IGTV or your permanent static post, and then you get off the app. And you're like, well, it's going to work its magic. It's going to do its thing, and I don't have to do anything else. Like, no, that's not how it works, right? Instagram and the Instagram algorithm rewards you and rewards your content for the time you spend being an active participant on the app. And so instead of posting and ghosting, like I call it, I always tell people you should plan to engage like the 15 minutes before you post your thing, whatever, your piece of content, whatever it is, and then continue to engage and interact on the app for another 15 minutes afterwards. Because that tells the algorithm like, hi, look, I'm creating content and I'm also an active participant. So you should show all of my stuff to my followers. Because if you don't do that, it just things tank. And then people are like, I don't understand why no one's seeing my content. And it's because Instagram thinks you're just trying to use them. And so they don't help you out. So that's the number one mistake, I think. Definitely.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Because when you think about the algorithms themselves, it's all about engaging. And I talk to people a lot about the Facebook platform. It's like you have to engage more and be engaging.
Yeah.
Right. So you just can't put up good stuff and think people are going to engage with it, but you also have to, it's like the law of reciprocity, and the algorithm knows that law very well. Hey, you posted today, but you haven't liked, you haven't commented, you hadn't shared anybody else's stuff in 3 years, but every time you post, you say, hey, y'all, can you please like and share this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work like that. That's a good tip. So give me an example of engaging the 15 minutes before and the 15 minutes after. Because I always thought that I do be ready, but I'm ready to engage with people who might like or comment, and I want to engage back with them. But it's not just that, right?
No.
Okay.
So a couple ways that you can engage. So I think first, always good to just, the people you're already following, the people who show up in your feed already, just scroll through for 10 minutes or so and like and comment on those posts, because you already chose to follow them. So you might as well be engaging with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. I think the second is find where your ideal client hangs out on Instagram. So maybe it's another business that's not competitors of yours, but that maybe someone who would use your service would also use this business. Go check out who follows them and then engage with those people, like and comment on some of their posts, do that kind of a thing. You can engage with stories. So the Instagram stories that show up at the top of your feed, just go through and watch them, leave little quick replies. That kind of a thing can be really good. And then the other thing I think is really helpful to growing your brand and creating engagement is to then look at the people who follow you. So your followers, click on their profiles and like and comment on a couple of their posts as well. Because that says like, hey, I noticed that you gave me the gift of your follow. Thank you. Like, I'm appreciative and I see you and I appreciate you. And that often will encourage them to then continue to engage with your account as well. So those are a couple quick ways that you can do that.
Hey, man, I can do that, Katie. I can do that. That's nothing, man. I can figure that part out. So real quick, tell us like this full-time entrepreneurship thing. I got a few full-time entrepreneurs, not a whole lot that follow the show. A lot of them are watching on their way to work right now and they're listening and that kind of stuff. But talk about a daily routine for two reasons. As an entrepreneur, I think you have a daily routine, but then as a human being, there's certain things that you're trying to do to make sure you don't burn yourself out as an entrepreneur and all of these kind of things. So do you have one routine that is all-encompassing for you as an entrepreneur and as a person, or do you kind of have two kind of routines running simultaneously?
I'm actually I'm super German, so I'm pretty consistent in what my days look like. So I have a really solid routine. So I'm always up. I'm doing a little meditation, like getting my breakfast in, usually getting in a workout, and then I'm getting into work and doing that. I always set aside at least 30 minutes a day to engage on Instagram. And I literally set a timer. I set it up, I get on Instagram, and it really just pushes me to be on and be engaging and interacting that full 30 minutes. Because I think what often happens, this is kind of a side note to that, but what often happens is people who are trying to grow their business are on Instagram a lot, or they're on Facebook a lot, but they're not on it actively, right? They're not on it intentionally. And so therefore they're kind of wasting their time. And then they're wondering why they're not getting the traction they're hoping for. I have one of my clients, I was like, hey, tell me how much time you spend a day on Instagram. And she said 6 hours. And I said, how much time do you spend engaging on Instagram? And she's like, probably 30 minutes. And I was like, you're wasting 5.5 hours of your life then. Like, get off Instagram or get engaging. Like, what? So anyway, be really consistent in like setting a timer and then getting on intentionally, I think is important. And then for me, I work super hard, super consistently until 4 p.m. and then I'm off and I step away. I step away from my computer. I try to step away from the screen as much as possible. And then I'll get in maybe another workout, maybe a more intense one. I'll go read a book. I'll do something else to kind of, shift the mindset. I'm always trying to read some kind of self-help book or business book to keep improving, that kind of a thing. So it's kind of my day.
I love it. I love it, man. I know my wife is constantly trying to get me. When does it end? She's like, when are you off work? If you had a regular job, you would be off at a certain time. And Katie, when I was working for a traditional employer, it's so funny. My coworkers would say, the way Cortez leaves his desk, it always looks like he's going to be right back, right? Because at 4:30, it didn't matter what I had going on. If I was in the middle of an email, hey, it's 4:30, I'm out of here. And she's like, you don't do that now. You need some cutoff time. And then when does it have to be over? And then you pick it up the next day. So I struggle big time with cutting it off at a certain time.
I think that's pretty common for entrepreneurs, especially because you're like, it's never done. There's always more to do. But I just found really quickly, like if I really hustle during that time, like during the time in which I'm working, like pretty much 9 to 4, I'm pretty brain dead by 4 o'clock. Like I'm not as effective anymore. And so it's better for me to take a break, step away, and be able to come back at 9 a.m. the next day and hustle hard again until 4. So I've just found for me that that's what works the best because I'm not really functioning much after 4.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we talked about how we can get it right on the platform. You talked about the new feature, Reel. What's that all about? And is it really competing with TikTok?
No, it's not really competing with TikTok, but I mean, people are using it. It's funny because I think they made it thinking it would compete with TikTok and people would record the same dances that they're doing on TikTok, on Reels. And it's really not turning out to be that way, but people are still really using it. So I like to think of it as consider like a post you're going to create, and maybe you're going to make a top 10 list, or maybe you're going to do something like that. And then think like, okay, I could turn that into a reel instead, because they're only 15 or 30-second videos. They're really, really quick. And video is really where a lot of content is moving these days. And so, you kind of make it, you go with it. I think the learning curve there is much bigger than a lot of the other parts of Instagram. But yeah, they're trying.
So let me ask you, do you TikTok?
Okay, so I have it, of course. A new app comes out and of course I get it. I have done some TikToks, but I'm not on it that much. Partly because I don't have the time to be trying to figure out all of these dances and stuff like that in order to, run my business. So
here's a strategy that I haven't gotten the TikTok app, but I did. I was on some training, and I understand that you could take your TikToks and use them as stories on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to learn how to do stories and I want to learn TikTok, then maybe that's a way that I can get some stuff into my stories on Instagram is through the TikTok app. But yeah, I'm kind of like, man, do I want to learn something else?
Yeah, well, and you can turn it into stories, or you can turn it into reels too. You can just literally take your TikTok and pop it into a reel instead on Instagram. But this brings up a really good point. I think too, a lot of people think they need to come up with new content for every platform they're on. New content for Facebook, new content for their blog, new content for Instagram. You should be repurposing all of this stuff. So let me give you an example. So every Tuesday, I put out a new blog post on the Rosebud Social site about social media. I immediately turn that into my email newsletter is tweaked. I give a little bit more information that goes out. I then turn it into an Instagram post, right? I turn that into a Facebook post. I will turn that then into a Pinterest pin, and it's all the same content. So it's not that I'm sitting here trying to remake, see, there you go, all of this content. Like, you should repurpose the stuff that you have. Your audience doesn't remember everything that you've put out there. So you can even go back 3 months ago and post something very similar, tweak the wording slightly, or pick a different picture. And, so repurposing content, I think, is really big, and it's a missed opportunity for a lot of people.
Yeah, I love that. I do that quite frequently. But I'm looking at the 5 calls to action to try this week, right? That's the blog post title, but that could very well be a tweet, and you can give them one and say, go to the blog to check out the other 4, right?
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. I think I think people sometimes miss
Mhm.
that you're an entrepreneur. You can still be creative in everything that you're doing. I mean, and I'm learning this, Katie. I'm the guy who my friends call me Mr. Gung Ho, because I get an idea and I just go, and
Nice.
there's not a whole lot of forethought and a whole lot of planning. But now I'm understanding how to be a lot more strategic as an entrepreneur, especially as a marketer. There's a lot of ways that you can make your content live a lot longer and in the moment and that kind of stuff. So I'm learning that kind of stuff. But man, I'm like, hey, I just need to get out there and get some stuff done.
Yeah.
Then I feel better about myself that I did at least something. But now I'm getting more focused. So Katie, this was really, really fun for me. Do us a favor, tell us a little bit about the Instagram playbook, and then tell everybody how they can connect with you if they need a good Instagram coach.
Yeah, awesome. So the Instagram playbook was really, I was looking at this year, 2020, as I was launching this business, and a lot of small businesses are really suffering. And I think Instagram can be a really good way for them to find their clients, to build an engaged audience that wants to buy from them. And so with them in mind, with the small businesses that I've worked with, I put together the Instagram playbook, which is an online course. It's broken up into 6 different modules to really walk you through how to use Instagram to really grow your business, to show up kind of authentically and profitably on Instagram. And so we talk about your profile and how to really craft a compelling profile. We talk about how to create content, what it should look like, what your caption should look like, all of that. We talk engagement strategies. We talk hashtags. We talk all the extras that I call them: stories, reels, guides, IGTV. And then we talk about insights and how you can learn from your insights what your audience likes so that you can create more of it. So
yeah,
they're short little snippet classes with a workbook to kind of figure out how to apply it specifically to your business, because I wanted to make it super practical, but also super helpful for each small business. So that's online that you can grab. And then, yeah, I also offer like strategy calls to help you figure out like, okay, where should you be going with your Instagram? One-on-one coaching where I can just walk you through how can we use this better for your brand? And then all sorts of other helps. Like some people just call me like every 3 months or so and be like, hey, I just need to talk about hashtags. Can we just work through hashtags? Or like, I don't want to look for hashtags. Can you just give me a bunch of hashtag collections and I'll do the research and send them your way? So basically, like, I'm your girl Friday for anything Instagram related. So if you need help, feel free to reach out. At Rosebud Social is the Instagram, is the Facebook. rosebudsocial.com is the website. Katy at rosebudsocial.com is the email. So feel free to reach out however.
Love it. One quick thing, because I did want to get your take on this. I think I heard you talk about the guide a little bit. That's relatively new. And I think that's a way that small businesses could really get, followers into their stores or into their products, into shopping carts. So talk about what guide is and how small business owners should be using it for themselves and then trying to get into other people's guides, right?
Yeah. So guides, I love. It's a brand new thing. Literally, I was finishing putting together the Instagram playbook with all of this stuff, and then they launched guides, and I was like, I have to go record more content. So I spent like 3 days playing with guides to figure it out. So basically, you can create guides on places, on products, or on posts. And basically think of a guide as like a top 10 list. You can actually do up to 30. So a top 30 list. And so this is why I think it could be huge for brands. If you have a brick and mortar or a location-based business, you want to make sure that your business gets put into as many guides by place as possible. So let me give you an example. On my lifestyle account, when I was playing with this, I was like, I'm gonna make a list of my 30 top microbreweries in Chicago. That's where I'm from. I love microbreweries and craft beer and all that. So I made a list of the 30 top breweries. And so therefore I'm sending all of this extra eyes and content and all of my followers to 30 businesses, to 30 small businesses. right? So that's why it can be really good for you to get on if you have a brick and mortar. Now, if you don't have a brick and mortar, and let's say you're selling online, then guides by products could be good. So let's say I'm putting together a Christmas list, right? A shopping list for the man in your life. And you want to make sure that your product gets on those lists. That can be really big for you as well. And then guides by posts are anybody's posts, your posts, anybody else's that you've saved that you can create. So if you're a small business, let's say let's say you sell candles. I don't know why I'm picking that, but let's say you sell candles and you have 12 different scents for your candles. You could make a guide by posts and pull 12 of your posts of the 12 different scents that you have and put them in so that if someone comes to your page and is like, I wonder if they sell lavender candles, all they got to do is click your guide and they can see the 12 types of candles that you offer. Or so whatever your products or services are, you could use guides for that as well. Nice. So I think they're big. I think they can be really, really big for small businesses, but we'll see how it goes. It's all very new.
Nice. Love it. Everything is at Rosebud Social, ladies and gentlemen. Check out Katy Hinderer. You've been listening to and learning from. I know I've learned a ton. And I'm going to do y'all all a favor, man. I'm going to cut this up and stick to Katy's rule. I'm going to repurpose it into some smaller bite-sized chunks where she really drops some of those nuggets so that you guys can get that stuff and rewatch. So, Katy, I appreciate you so much for hanging out with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, on the other side of this break, I am actually going to help you develop your why. And if you already have it and you've detached from it, we're going to talk about how do you reignite that thing. But guess what? You guys know that if you share the show and you come back and say that you shared the show, then you're going to get entered into a drawing to win a free vacation. Now, I know we weren't traveling much in 2020, but guess what? 2020 is a whole new year, people, and you're going to want to go to some of these destinations. So check them out right here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cortez Hustle Show. I am your boy, Cortez Hustle, also known as the one and only financial health mentor. And you guys know I'm on a mission, man, to empower people economically. So the way that you share the show, I go back for the month of December, and everybody who shared the show, I'm keeping track, and your name goes into a drawing. And we're going to give a couple free vacations away at the end of the month. So y'all make sure y'all let us know that you shared the show. And yes, if you share multiple shows, then your name goes into the drawing multiple times. So that's going to be something that we're going to do right around Christmas in terms of giving away a few of those free vacations. So y'all make sure y'all keep tuning in, keep sharing the content. Y'all, did you enjoy today's show? Did you learn something? Do y'all see the type of value that I'm trying to bring? Do y'all believe that more and more people should be getting in on this type of value? Well, that's how you got to help your boy out and share this information. So let's talk about your why. Some of you guys are in the industry and you understand that if you don't have a compelling why for whatever you're trying to accomplish, it's going to be hard to get it done. Your why is what compels you to take that consistent, persistent, continuous, aggressive action towards the pursuit of your goal. I want you to write down the acronym WHY, WHY. And I've got to give some mad love to my extra digit movement cross-line buddy, Sean T. Hill. He broke this down on a private training that we had yesterday. And I just had to share it, right? Because some of us don't have a why. Some of us have a why that's not really compelling, so it doesn't push us. It doesn't move us to get up every morning, right? My why is so compelling that I don't need an alarm clock in the morning. Well, I'll take that back. This morning I did, right? I normally get up at 5. I got up at 3 o'clock this morning and couldn't go back to sleep. And when I finally did go back to sleep, guess what time I went back to sleep? I went back to sleep at 10 minutes to 5. Right? It was like 4:52. I finally go back to sleep, and then I did need my alarm clock to wake me up this morning. But normally I don't need an alarm clock because my why gets me jumping out of the bed and ready to take action every day. So think of the word why as an acronym. The first thing that you want to put down next to your WHY is what has you. WHY. What has you? If you don't have a strong why, then think about what has you up at night. What has your mind not able to focus and concentrate because you're concerned about certain things, right? Allow that and whatever it is that has you up at night, then you should be using that to push you towards finding a solution, right? What hits you? WHY. What hits you, right? When you are looking out in this world today, chances are there are some things that you are seeing that hits you in a way that it does not hit everybody else. That's an indication that you might need to figure out what to do about that, right? One of the things that hits me when I'm rolling through my old neighborhood and some of the inner city is that young people have limited opportunities and limited resources, limited positive role models, right? That hits me in a way that I want to do something about that. What hits you in a way that makes you want to do something about it? Never mind that you may not know how you're going to do something about it. Never mind you're going to do, you don't know what you're going to do about it. Just know that something hits you. It moves you in a way that you want to do something, right? Ask yourself, what hits you? The next one, ask yourself, what hurts you? What hurts you? Right? This time of the year, as we are winding down and we're in the holiday shopping season and all of that kind of stuff, you start saying, for me personally, it's like, I got the best, most beautiful, most loving, most giving, most supportive wife on the planet. And the fact that I can't fly her around the world this year hurts me. And because I'm hurt by that, I'm driven to get up every single day and grind, man, till the day comes when I'm gonna be able to ask her, hey, what you want for lunch today, babe? You know what? I like me some pizza. I like me some spaghetti. Okay, cool. I'll make a phone call. We fire up the jet and we fly over to Rome and get some authentic pizza and spaghetti. Right? What hurts you? You should be identifying these things for yourself. Right? Again, shout out to my man, Sean T. Hill. Broke me down when I heard him break it down this way. It's like, man, this is why some people can get caught up in the world of procrastination all day, every day, because they haven't figured out what has them, what hits them, what hurts them. When you can figure these things out, there's your motivation. Your situation is your motivation, right? Here's another one. What helps you? What helps you? What resources do you have at your disposal that can help you overcome those things that hurt you, that hit you, that has you? What is there? What resources are you not tapping into? And that could be a human resource. What people in your life really root for you and want to see you win, but you hanging around other people who want to see you fail, right? Our extra digit movement is filled with people that only want to see me win. Our extra digit movement is filled with people, all we want to do is see you win. We have a system in place to help you do that. It might be a technology resource. We talked to Katy Hinderer today about social media. Could social media help you with the things that hurt you? Do something about the things that hit you? Do something about the thing that has you? That's a tool. That's a resource, right? It might be not a human resource. It might not be a technological resource. Maybe you came into a bunch of money. Maybe that's a resource that could help you do something about the things that hurt you. We don't often take inventory of the things that can help us. And last but not least, what's up, Stephen Russ? Last but not least, not everybody is motivated by the things that they stand to gain. Sometimes you have to look at the things that you stand to lose. What haunts you? What haunts you? Katy talked about some of the new technologies within Instagram that could help small businesses. If you continue to say, I'm not a tech person, and you don't take advantage of these things, do you want to end up 5 years from now with your business doors closed and you're talking about, I shoulda, coulda, woulda jumped on those social media strategies that Katy talked about? 5 years from now, do you want to be saying, I shoulda, coulda, woulda connected with the financial health mentor? He offered a program that could help me build wealth, and I thought it was a scam. I shoulda, coulda, woulda connected with Stephen Russ. He was trying to show me how to use social media in my small business. Trying to show me how to generate leads. I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I didn't connect with him. Think about the things that will haunt you if you don't take action today. Allow these things, the thing that has you, the thing that hits you, the thing that hurts you, the thing that helps you, the thing that haunts you, allow that to drive you to take consistent, aggressive, and continuous action towards your goal. You need a why that moves you, not a superficial why. Oh, Cortez, I just want to make a bunch of money. You guys know that money ain't the deal. Money will never get you to move. What gets you to move is the things that you really, really want that you're going to be able to do with the money. You got to identify those things. Those are the things that will get you to move, to take the actions that will make you the money, because you don't really want the money. You more so want the things that you can do with the money. But if you haven't identified those things, every time you start chasing a dollar and it eludes you, you'll rationalize it away like, Like for me, time freedom and financial freedom to travel the world while I'm young. You see how I put that qualifier on there? See, because if I don't put the qualifier on there, then I can take my time building my wealth, and I can get to 75, 80 years old, and I could be a few $100 million richer by then. And I would be able to travel the world. I would be able to take my wife around the world. I want to be able to do that stuff while I'm young. Like next year, I want to be able to do that kind of stuff. Right? What's your qualifier to your why? We all know that tomorrow isn't promised. And this is something that my wife had to help me with, because I'm always saying, babe, just wait, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. I'm putting it together. Just give me a minute. What if she don't have a minute? What if I don't have a minute? Take advantage of the opportunities that's before you while you have the time to take advantage of them. Right? So ask yourself, what has you up at night? What hits you? What pulls your heartstrings when you see it? What hurts you emotionally? What helps you? Because everybody got access to resources. What haunts you? That's how you develop your why, in a way that you stay motivated, in a way that you stay encouraged, in a way that you get back up after being knocked down time and time and time and time again. Remember this, the late, great Dr. Miles Monroe says, every vision must be tested for authenticity. Not some visions, not a few visions. Every vision must be tested for authenticity. What are you going to do when your vision gets tested? If you have a compelling why, you're going to pass the test with flying colors. But if you haven't identified these things, then chances are, when that vision gets tested, you're going to rationalize it away. Oh, I didn't really want it anyway. Oh, it wasn't worth it anyway. Develop your compelling why. Ray J says, my qualifier is the rest of my life being the best on this side of the sod. I'm ready now. I am with your sister. So with that, do me a huge favor, guys. Share the show if you have not already shared it. Give me a comment, leave a comment for your best takeaway. And I'm excited about what's going to happen in your life based on what you learned here today, for those of you who are going to take action. So until next time, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now hustle up. But you've got to overcome fear if you're going to win.